Did you see this Diddy, like the guy who basically invented hip hop success is facing like some serious allegations.
Yes.
Really makes you think, like what can his rise and potentially his fall, what can that teach us about self-growth?
Mm.
Even if we're not all, Grammy winners.
You're right. It's a fascinating situation. I mean, it really highlights the difference between like outward success and inner growth.
Right, because this isn't just some celebrity scandal. This is
Yeah,
Diddy represents a certain kind of American dream, right?
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
from Harlem to like Harmon Bad Boy Records, launching Biggie's Ready to Die, which basically like redefined hip hop.
Yeah, yeah.
His impact is undeniable. I mean, he's a cultural icon.
And it's not just music.
Right.
It's fashion, it's movies. He built a whole empire.
Yeah.
So to then have these allegations come out,
Yeah.
it's a lot to process.
It really makes you question like what we often overlook on the road to success, right?
Yeah.
Like, does the climb to the top leave space for personal growth?
Hmm.
Or can money and fame mask kind of deeper issues?
Okay, so let's talk about those allegations.
Yeah, Lex.
We're talking about sexual abuse. We're talking about racketeering, even violence.
Right.
Like, these are some incredibly serious accusations.
Yeah.
For example, one of the sources detailed.
And that's where this deep dive gets really interesting, I think, because it raises the question, even if you reach like the pinnacle of success, right?
Yeah.
Can you truly outrun your demons?
Yeah.
Or are money and fame just a temporary mask,
Mm. And that's something we can all relate to on some level, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we're not running record labels,
Right.
but we all have areas where we could grow,
Yeah, for sure.
where we might be tempted to choose kind of the easy path over the work of self-improvement.
Exactly. And that's why Diddy's situation, while extreme, I think holds valuable lessons for all of us.
Yeah.
It forces us to confront a difficult truth. Success doesn't automatically equal personal development.
Right. It's like we see this all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like celebrities, politicians, even like business leaders.
Uh-huh.
They reach these incredible heights, but then it all comes crashing down.
Right.
And you wonder, like, what was happening behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Were there warning signs?
What's fascinating here, I think, is that it often seems like the higher someone climbs,
Yeah.
the further they have to fall.
Yeah.
And the impact of that fall is felt, not just by them, but by everyone around them.
Yeah, it really makes you think about, like, the responsibility that comes with success, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're in a position of power, a position of influence,
Right.
how do you use that responsibly?
Yeah.
And how do you stay grounded when, like, the whole world is telling you you're on top?
It's a tightrope walk, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest dangers is that success can kind of create a bubble around you, isolating you from reality, right? You surround yourself with, like, yes, man.
Right.
You start to believe your own hype, and you lose sight of the bigger picture.
So how do you avoid that trap? How do you stay grounded and keep growing even when, like, you're killing it in your career and your personal life, whatever it is?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's no, like, easy answer. But I think it starts with sort of cultivating a deep sense of self-awareness,
Okay.
being honest with yourself about your strengths and weaknesses,
Yeah.
your motivations and your blind spots.
It's like you need to be your own toughest critic, even
Yeah.
when you're, like, your own biggest fan, right?
Yeah.
And that can be hard, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, our instinct is often to protect our egos, right? To avoid those, like, uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
Absolutely. It takes courage to confront our flaws,
Yeah.
to admit when we're wrong, to ask for help when we need it.
Yeah.
But that vulnerability, that willingness to be real with ourselves and with others, that's essential for growth.
So let's bring this back to Diddy. Let's say he wants to use this situation as an opportunity for, like, real lasting change.
Right.
Where does he even begin?
Well, one of the sources we looked at talked about the importance of radical responsibility.
Okay.
It's not just about, acknowledging your mistakes. It's about, like, owning the impact of your actions,
Yeah.
even if you didn't intend for, like, certain consequences to occur.
So in Diddy's case, it's not enough to say, I'm sorry if I hurt anyone.
Right.
He needs to go deeper. He
Yeah.
needs to really examine the patterns in his behavior, the systems that allowed this to happen, and the steps he can take to ensure it doesn't happen again.
Exactly. And that process, that journey of self-discovery and accountability
Yeah.
can be incredibly challenging. It requires a level of honesty and vulnerability that many people especially like those in positions of power, are afraid to embrace.
Because let's be real, like admitting you were wrong, especially on a public scale, is terrifying.
Yeah.
It can feel like you're risking everything you've worked for.
And yet, paradoxically, that act of surrender, of letting go of the need to be right, to be in control,
Yeah.
can be incredibly liberating.
Yeah.
It opens the door to a level of authenticity and connection that wouldn't be possible otherwise.
It's like that saying, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to like rise again, stronger than before.
Right.
But the question is, can Diddy actually pull that off,
That's what makes this whole situation so compelling, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just talking about one man's mistakes,
Yeah.
right? We're talking about, like, the potential for redemption, for growth on a very public stage.
And what would that even look like, I mean, how do you go from being accused of these, like, really serious things to being someone who people can actually, like, look up to again?
Well, one of the articles you shared talked about the power of using your platform for good.
Okay.
Like, imagine if Diddy actually embraced the work of self-growth, right?
Yeah.
And then used his influence to advocate for, like, real change.
Okay, now that's interesting. So instead of just trying to, like, save his own skin,
Right.
he becomes an example of how to take responsibility, how to grow from your mistakes.
Exactly. He could become a voice for those who have been silenced.
Right.
An advocate for, like, accountability and transparency in industries where power dynamics often allow for abuse.
It's like turning this whole thing on its head,
Yeah.
using this potential downfall as a springboard for something much bigger than himself.
Right, and that brings us back to the heart of this deep dive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's never too late for self-growth. No matter what you've done, no matter how far you've strayed, there's always a path back to becoming a better version of yourself.
And maybe, just maybe, by choosing that path, by embracing, like, the hard work of self-growth,
Yeah.
Diddy could inspire others to do the same.
Right.
Even if you've never picked up a microphone, there's something powerful in that message.
Absolutely. It reminds us that, true success isn't just about, like, reaching the top. It's about how we navigate the journey, the stumbles, and the opportunities for growth along the way.
Right.
And sometimes the biggest challenges can lead to the most profound transformations.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway for me is this. Self-growth isn't some, like, abstract concept.
Right.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
A choice we make every single day to show up as the best versions of ourselves, to learn from our mistakes, and to use our experiences, good and bad, to create positive change in the world.
Well said. And while none of us may ever face the same level of scrutiny as someone like Diddy, we all have a responsibility, I think, to hold ourselves accountable, to strive for continuous growth, and to use whatever influence we have to make the world a better place.
Because in the end, it's not about the empire you build, it's about the legacy you leave behind. And that legacy starts with the work you do on yourself.